So as we were driving to Fort Charlotte, we passed this close by, Bahamas Veteran Cemetery. Welcome to Brian 360, and welcome to what I think is probably the most important video I've posted on my channel so far. This is my tribute to those who served in the First and Second World Wars from the Bahamas. The inscription above this small building reads, "To the greater glory of God, and to those who served in World Wars I and II." I've, for many, many years, had a keen interest in military history, and seeing this building and how it pays tribute to the men and women who volunteered to serve in the First and Second World Wars, I found very touching and wanted to record this. I apologize for some of the dodgy camera work. I was still a rookie with my camera at that point and probably still am. But what I wanted to do was record this for people who maybe have lived in the Bahamas and moved away, maybe people who had relatives who served in the two world wars and have never had the opportunity to see where they are memorialized and commemorated for their bravery. So if you are one of those people who are maybe looking up a relative and have gained an interest in your roots, I hope this video serves you well, and I hope you can gain some solace or appreciation for your ancestor who showed incredible bravery in the First or Second World War. So this is the Bahamas Veteran Cemetery, and the war dead are not buried here. These are individuals who survived the wars and then returned to the Bahamas and died. Those who died overseas in the First and Second World Wars would be buried close by where they fell. It simply wasn't a practical option to bring the fallen back to their home countries and bury them. I'm doing somewhat of a quick scan over the plaques containing the names of these individuals, and if there's a name of interest, then go back and rewatch, pause, and zoom in to get a better look at a name. But one that I wanted to mention is the first individual on the fallen plaque, Preston Adderley, died in the First World War. And I find it very moving and somewhat upsetting that in the Second World War, there were 7 Adderleys who served. The hell that Private Preston Adderley must have gone through, and then you think he has seven people in his family following him, following in his footsteps to the Second World War. Thankfully, none of those individuals died, but I think that's where my love of military history comes from, is knowing there are people far braver than I who have sacrificed so much. So as we approach this plaque here, it's a common saying that is repeated at every Remembrance Day ceremony. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. And those words are spoken, as I said, after every Remembrance Day ceremony. I assume throughout the British Commonwealth, it's a standard in the Canadian Remembrance Day ceremonies on November 11th. So as I mentioned, these would not be the graves of those who died during the war. These would be individuals who returned to the Bahamas. And just some information, I took kind of a deep dive on trying to learn about Bahamas military history, and there was a lot of good information from the Abaco Sun newspaper online. With respect to the First World War, there were 486 Bahamians in the British West Indies Regiment, in addition to more than 200 who also served in the British, Canadian, and American forces. There was a group known as the Gallant 30. These are the first Bahamian volunteers in the British West Indies Regiment. And I'll put a link to the website where all this information is. Um, it mentions in the article that more than 38 Bahamians died in World War One, 7 in battle, 3 from battle wounds later on, and 28 others from illness and other causes related to their service. In the Second World War, approximately 300 served in the Bahamas Defense Company. They saw service in Italy and Egypt. Others joined the British, Canadian, and American militaries, and more than 14 were killed. And it's important to stress that these were volunteers. These people were not conscripted, they volunteered, and some paid the ultimate price. We are now at the Cenotaph in Nassau, commemorating the fallen from the First and Second World Wars. There's also an addition to the Cenotaph on this plaque dedicated to the memory of 4 sailors who died in 1980 who served aboard the HMBS Flamingo. Their ship was involved with apprehending 2 fishing boats fishing illegally. They were Cuban boats, and the Cuban military sent jets. And those jets attacked the HMBS Flamingo, and these 4 sailors died in service to their country. So I thought this was a very nice addition to the Cenotaph, which would have been otherwise just for soldiers of the First and Second World War. Unfortunately, these men have the name on the Cenotaph now. Plaque in dedication to those who died in the First World War is displayed now. It reads, "In grateful memory of the sons of this colony who made the supreme sacrifice in the Great War, 1914 to 1918. Bahamians, let this of you be said, that you who live are worthy of your dead. These gave their lives, that you who live may reap a richer harvest ere you fall asleep." Unfortunately, I should have gone the other way on this monument, but now we are looking at the names of the war dead of the Second World War, from 1939 to 1945. So these names are also listed at the Bahamas Veterans Cemetery. This plaque is in memory of those who died in the Second World War. It reads, "In grateful memory of the sons of this colony who made the supreme sacrifice in World War II, 1939 to 1945. These are the men whom history will acclaim, the men who never feared to count the cost. These sons of ours who need no name, who gave their all when everything seemed lost." I have to admit, I had to stop recording on that one. I couldn't make it through. This plaque displays the names of the soldiers from the First World War who died. Apologies for that sudden color change. I'm trying to figure out how to use this camera and trying to capture some names on a plaque where the color was not so great. I've had to adjust some of the levels so the names could be read. So as I said when I was at the Bahamas Veterans Cemetery, I hope that there are people out there who are family members of these men who died and will take something from this video. To live in hearts we left behind is not to die. 20 years ago, in 2003, I had the great opportunity to go on a military history tour with several veterans from the Second World War and other individuals who are interested in military history. These photos are from Tyne Cemetery, a World War I cemetery in Belgium. At the entrance to Commonwealth military cemeteries, there is a plaque displaying information, and that's what you see here. Some information about the battle in that area, and then breakdown of the nationalities of the soldiers who were buried there. When researching for this video, I thought, well, maybe I'll look back at my old photos and see if there's anything of interest with respect to soldiers from the Bahamas or from the West Indies. And on this plaque, it's listed that there are 2 British West Indian soldiers buried at Tyne Cemetery. I visited the Commonwealth War Graves Commission website, and I'll put a link to that in the description, hoping to find the identities of these 2 individuals. In the First World War, there were 1,499 fallen soldiers from the British West Indies Regiment. And I knew it was a long shot, but I was hoping to see if I could figure out who these 2 people were. Unfortunately, there's no information as to the identities of these people. They were likely known to be British West Indies Regiment soldiers, most likely through where fighting occurred, where their bodies were found, their uniforms, but they were not identified. They would be buried with a headstone reading, "A soldier of the Great War, known unto God." Some of them would have their nationalities known, some were unknown. These 12 headstones that you see here are all known soldiers. Of the 11,956 graves at Tynecott Cemetery, only 3,614 are known soldiers. On the walls surrounding the cemetery, there are inscribed the names of 34,857 soldiers who died in the Ypres salient, whose graves are unknown, who died after August 15th, 1917. And that's what you see in this picture. Now, getting back to the Bahamian war dead of World War I, there were 3 names that stood out for me on this plaque at the Bahamas Veterans Cemetery. That being Private Thomas Moss, Private Charles W. Moss, and Private Oliver Moss. Like many of the families, the names that you see on the plaques here, many family members served, and unfortunately, 3 family members of the Moss family gave their lives in the First World War. I couldn't find out whether they were brothers, cousins, or what their exact relationship was. But on the Commonwealth War Graves Commission website, you can search based on name, based on regiment, based on cemetery, lots of information that is available. The website contains the records of over 1.7 million war dead. And I was able to find out about the 3 Moss family members. Thomas Moss died on July 1st, 1917, and he is buried in Egypt. Charles W. Moss died October 9th, 1917, and he is buried in Belgium. He was 17 years old. Oliver Moss died on April 27th, 1918, and he is buried in France. And I mentioned it a few times already, but these were volunteers. These men gave their lives. They were not conscripted. They joined up in a war that they would have had no idea what they were getting into. No one could have predicted the horrors of the First World War. So I just wanted to pay tribute to the Moss family, other individuals who gave their lives. I'm not, unfortunately, going to name all of them, but you can see their names on this inscription. But my tribute to the people of Bahamas. You should be very proud of the people who represented you in the First and Second World Wars. That is something to be extremely proud of. I'll end this video with an aerial photograph of the Tynecott Cemetery. taken from the Tyne Cemetery website. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful place. When you think of the reason for this cemetery, it's heartbreaking. Thank you very much for watching this video. And as the saying goes, if you love your freedom, thank a veteran. Thank you.